It's crazy to me that this topic is still being brought up to this day, but it is an interesting thing to talk about. You may or may not know that the latest Super Sentai, Osama Sentai Kingohger, is using Sonic technology by using these ginormous LED screens to make their backgrounds a lot bigger, which you might have heard you have seen in The Mandalorian, one of the Star Wars projects. And it's such an interesting fun fact that it was actually on Reddit, on r/interesting as F. The latest Power Rangers season in Japan is made in collaboration with Sony using VFX LED walls instead of traditional green screens, allowing it to go full high fantasy. And this post actually got a lot of upvotes, it got a lot of comments, there's a lot of discussion about it, not just on Reddit, but on Twitter. At first I was like, oh wow, that really is interesting. I mean, I knew about it, but it's cool to see that this is becoming more mainstream, that Super Sentai of all things is actually being talked about in an American forum. Because it goes without saying, Tokusatsu is big, yeah, it's ginormous, it's a thing people know. But it's not as big as we think it is. It is still a very, very niche product. In fact, it's so niche, most people in America would know it more as Godzilla, or today's topic, Power Rangers. So at first, the top comments actually aren't bad. They're actually discussing about Super Sentai, they're asking more about the story, and then the third comment I'm seeing here is, you son of a bee, it is called Super Sentai. I'm sure they mean it in jest. It's probably not an actual malicious thing, it's more of a joke of like, oh haha, it's actually called Super Sentai, right? And then the reply below that directly says, oh, it's even worse. When Photopia was airing, they also called it Power Rangers BS, lol. I always say, my timeline is not gonna be the same as your timeline, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, anything that you look up Tokusatsu in. Even though I've personally never seen someone call Photopia Power Rangers, I'm not gonna say it's never been said before, because I guess someone out there said it, according to this reply. Good to see that it's still as cheesy as 1993, which that's referring to more as Power Rangers because Super Sentai aired way, way, way before then. And another comment even says, Power Rangers looked like crap when I was a kid, good to see they're keeping that style. In the opening when I said it's crazy that we're even talking about this topic, it's because I think in the modern day, 2023, or whenever you're watching this, because I'm pretty sure this will still apply years down the line, it's okay to call Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Garo, any of these Japanese properties. It's okay to bring it to a new person and say, hey, this is basically Japanese Power Rangers. You want to ease someone new into this. As I mentioned before, the furthest I want to say a general audience would really know about Tokusatsu as a whole, as a medium as a whole, would just be some exposure or knowing about like Godzilla and of course, Power Rangers. But even then, Power Rangers also isn't really that known as to the modern day. It's more known as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers rather than as a whole Power Rangers. I've even gotten some people commenting in real life being like, oh, Power Rangers is still going on? I thought that died out in the 90s. Which, hey, fair, So if you want to introduce someone to Tokusatsu, the easiest entry point is to say, yeah, this is basically Japanese Power Rangers. Well, speaking to an American audience, of course. Other countries like in Europe or in Brazil or South America, they would be more open to knowing something like Tokusatsu because shows like Just Beyond, Other Metal Heroes, even Super Sentai dubbed in Spanish or in Portuguese, they were a thing. While in America, all we got was the cheesy Power Rangers Saban shows like Beetleborgs, Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog. And after that, the only thing we really got in America that became anywhere near mainstream was the main two things I'm talking about, Power Rangers, Godzilla, and even then, I don't think the general American audience really knows about the current Power Rangers going on. And then Godzilla, I think a general audience would know because it got pretty popular during the King of the Monsters and the King Kong movies. And yeah, people know Godzilla, giant lizard attacking Japan or the seas of America, I guess. And I did want to make this certain section pretty brief because it's just that. It's okay to say it's Japanese Power Rangers. But I also do get it. It can be a little bit frustrating when you want to introduce someone to this medium that you love, that I love. I mean, I have a whole channel dedicated to it, to all of the tokusatsu, well, most of the tokusatsu that I can possibly talk about. And when it gets relegated to just, oh, it's Power Rangers. Yeah, it is a little annoying. What more so gets to me is the overgeneralization of things. For one, yes, I was generalizing things, but I was trying to say things more in a, it's most likely gonna be like this, or this is the way I see it, because I have a pretty long timeline regarding tokusatsu. Whether some people know it or not, I'm there. So I do see a lot of this. So when we move this conversation over to Twitter, it is a little disheartening when I have to read something like, that Reddit post just confirms Power Rangers, Super Sentai, and Kamen Rider will never be respected, will never be mainstream, and it's better for it to remain niche. I say disheartening, not towards this specifically, but because I kind of have to agree. I did see comments on the Reddit post being legitimately interested in what Super Sentai could be, or, oh wow, what is this? I want to know more, or I want to see this. And then you see these other comments like, yeah, but OG Power Rangers / Super Sentai was still predominantly live action, model film sci-fi like Toho and Super Mario Nation. A little goofy and crappy looking, but enjoyable and realistic in its way. This just looks cheap, like Atlantic Rim. Really? Atlantic Rim? The knockoff bootleg of Pacific Rim? The one that is made on the cheap on purpose? Atlantic Rim? Kingohger? I understand this comment is pretty much an opinion. They think Atlantic Rim looks better than Kingohger. But I think there needs to be some kind of respect for the medium. Me personally, while there are seasons of tokusatsu that I don't like whatsoever or I find boring, I still can respect the work that goes into it, because a lot of work does go into this stuff. The action, the writing, the stories. But when you get all these ideas and literal years of brainstorming and trying to put things together just to make this 50 episode product work, it feels disheartening when someone doesn't respect all the work that goes into it. And you can see the major cultural differences in what someone thinks is really bad, or Power Rangers like in the American side versus the Japanese side, who are wondering, oh, did Kingohger blow all of its budget already in the first episode? And then you see it compared to Atlantic Rim. Yes, Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider Tokusatsu. It still looks cheesy in 2023. It is always going to look cheesy. And that's just the fun of it. It's kind of supposed to look cheesy. It's not gonna be this Marvel budget movie that I see some comparisons to. And then you gotta remember probably the biggest point of all. These shows are for kids. I am a grown man who spends part of his check on toys because they look cool. As a kid, my mind would be blown by seeing Kingohger. Like, I don't even have to know the technology they were using. I didn't have to know that what was behind them wasn't green screen. I just see the explosions and the mecha action and the tense story that happens on screen. As a kid, and I would assume kids today, would think this is one of the coolest things of all time. No matter if Spider-Man isn't on screen, just this superhero that's larger than life, that's protecting his people and the kingdoms. That's cool. It's fun. And luckily I do see comments that also say, quote unquote, this looks worse than The Mandalorian. Well, yeah, no S. This probably has a quarter of the budget, if even that. And I'm glad people understand. I'm glad people know that yes, this is for kids. but it is a lot of work for a kid's show, and it should be respected. It should be a medium that people understand, yeah, it's cheesy, but it's still a lot of work that goes into it. I've been watching Toku for so long. I've been making content about Toku for so long. I'm to the point where I'm like, yeah, it is Japanese Power Rangers. That's okay. And I think this tweet said it best. I don't give one about it being mainstream. I just want tokusatsu to be respected. And you know what? Me too. Call it Japanese Power Rangers all you want. Call it American Super Sentai if you want. I just want people to enjoy it and respect all the work that gets put into it. No matter how cheesy they are, no matter how bad the green screen looks, I just want you to enjoy it. With all that being said, I got more toys to buy.